So Mercy Njama says, reduce the intensity and take time to destroy the tumor. Eventually, the patient shall be well. Alice Njora says, use both low and high intensity alternatively. And Lizzie says, use the high intensity rays at once to destroy the tumor because the tissues may not be live. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm getting, so let me get some more. Let me get some more. We have 3 responses, so I'm requesting for some more responses. Mercy is saying, plan on destroying the tumor with the X-ray, then replace the healthy tissue that was destroyed. Okay, use high intensity. Naomi is saying, inform family of the risk involved, then pray, take the risk, use high intensity. And Winnie is saying, use low intensity for a longer time. Okay, it will still be coming low intensity. Thank you very much for that. So you find that this is a deeper structure question. And in the surface level, you will find that the story is about destroying the tumor. It's about destroying the tumor. But then in the deeper level is how do you reach the tumor to destroy it while saving the patient? So one of the solutions which they give is saying, bringing low intensity rays from multiple sides. So you should shoot from this side, this side, this side, this side. So they are all low intensity. So they are not hurting the patient, but they all meet at the tumor. Now, when they all meet at the tumor, they'll be concentrated as high intensity. Then they can be able to destroy the tumor, but at the same time, leave the patient safe. So that is what the medic have said. So you can see this is a deeper structure question whereby you need to think and get the answer. So when you look at the two, the tumor and the cave, what are the surface structure of both of them? What is surface about them and what is deep about them? Can you write in the chat, what do you think is surface about this story and which perspective makes them deeper? How do you transfer from the surface to the level by looking at the same aspects or the same story? Can you share in the chat what is surface structure about them and what is deep structure about them? What is surface structure about them and what is deep structure about them? Let's share in the chat. What is surface structure about them and what is deep structure about them? Let's share in the chat. Yeah, your screen is still on treasure hunt. It will change. It takes some time to refresh. because I have an alternative screen I'm using to make sure I'm following what you're seeing, so I can see what you're seeing. So Lizzie says there is the goal, but now again there are grave challenges that present themselves. Okay. So that is Lizzie's perspective. She talks of there is a goal, but there are some challenges which present themselves in the scenario. Thank you, Lizzie. Let's hear for some more. Dr. Sam is saying surface is basic level and deep involves critical thinking. Thank you, Doc. So one more, then we can move on. Winnie says the predicament is very clear. Surface. Finding solution to overcome is deep. Thank you, Winnie. So you find that this can be translated in the classroom. Remember, we are preparing our learners to real life. So this, then there's somebody in the WhatsApp who says, oh, it's gone. But Esther can read. Esther, can you read what is in the WhatsApp? I saw one, it appeared and it.
Yes, Miriam Waigwa says, surface structure is removal of the tumor. Deep is how to remove it. Then Bernadette, the problem is surface. The treatment is deeper thinking. Then we have Joy Muni. Surface is the presence of a problem. Deep is how to solve that problem.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So, and now we are preparing our learners to be problem solvers. We don't know how the future will look like. We saw that yesterday. Jobs are different. We don't even know what they'll be doing. And therefore, as we are thinking about this, we have to think, how can it be taught? So we are going to watch a lesson, and in the lesson there'll be about green, a short video clip, which will be showing about the greenhouse effect. I want you, as you watch the lesson, look at how the students are doing the experiment and see how the greenhouse effect is taking place. And students here have come up with 4 experiments using plastic bottles for the earth surface, using plants and adding CO2 to the bottle, checking the effect on the temperature over time. So look, let's visit this lesson and we see what happens. I will switch the presentation because it's a video so that it shows it plays the video without problem. So let's watch this class and think about what is deep, what is surface.
We're going to get started with our experiment that we've been preparing for. Today in class, you were watching my 6th graders take what they've been learning about climate change, specifically the greenhouse effect, and with this experiment, make the greenhouse effect happen right before their eyes. All right, scientists, scholars, and climate change researchers. Are you ready? Yes. When I say go, you're going to turn the light on. Do your best. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. In our model, the light bulb is the sun. For the earth, a soda bottle. Anything that can be broken down to the basics can be taught. Why is the greenhouse effect important, and what does it have to do with climate change? Roberto?
Like if CO2, well, the main question is, will temperature change if carbon dioxide is added to the atmosphere?
Excellent. So I wanted the students to have an experience, and so they designed the experiment themselves. All I did was show them a soda bottle, and I said, how can we recreate the Earth and its atmosphere in this model? I could test it out by doing something to this model. And then they told me what to add to it. So you guys said, why don't we add some carbon dioxide to one of the bottles? True? Okay. So they designed each of the 4 experiments. They were specifically adding different variables to what would be the atmosphere. If you're a plant person, you're going to put one of the thriving plants in, and then you're going to put whatever else you need to, your thermometer, which are over here. Before doing the experiment, we had to talk about the setup and not just like let them go right away, but we had to really make it so it was broken down into steps. Okay, so first we're going to take our bottle. The caps need to be put on. It's going to be a closed system. Second, we're going to cut off the top. Carefully, in the most scholarly way, you're going to puncture with one of the, and just in little chunks like that for them to be able to take it all in at once. And so it's important to have the materials already ready and to be able to show them where everything is and to give them a specific location in the room where to go. I think that really simplifies things for both the teacher and the students. 1, 2, and then we're going to say execute. Execute. I believe that the goal of teaching and the activities that you choose should be to make learning fun. Tell someone next to you, take that data.
Take that data, Naya. Good luck, Naya.
Here we go. Because if you make it fun and exciting, then they're interested and they're motivated, and then they will stay with you.
Oh, yeah, mine's went up a little. Oh, yeah, mine went up a half. Yeah, me too.
Especially as scientists, they also have to see a relevance to their life and a relevance to the world. What was your hypothesis?
That one with the CO2 was going to be hotter than the one without.
Yeah.
Because the CO2, like in real life, it's making us warmer, so in the bottle, it's making that plant warmer. And it's a greenhouse gas.
When I see my students make connections between what they're learning and what's going on in the world, it is so powerful and it's so amazing, and it makes you feel like what you're doing is making a difference.
No, it's a half. 26.5. Confirmed.
I feel like I am creating scientists. Being a scientist is how you see the world.
Confirmed?
You see the world, and if you're aware enough, you're going to have a question. And what do you do to get that question answered? Science, it's a way of thinking and it's a way of being rather than a profession or a title. Whether it's science or any subject, I want them to observe and I want them to think about something and to question something, and then to have enough confidence and enough motivation to actually do something about it to figure out the answer.
Okay, we have listened to that lessons. So my question to you, I want you to reflect, how will this experiment help the students to understand the meaning of greenhouse effect? How will this lesson help the student understand the meaning of greenhouse effect? So let's reflect on that, and we think about it. How will it help us? How will it help the student to be able to know the difference of greenhouse effect? Let's type that in the chat. How will it help the students understand the aspect of greenhouse effects? Let's type that in the chat. How will this experiment, the way you have seen them doing, help the students understand the meaning of greenhouse effect? I can see somebody has shared something. Just trying to upload to another presentation. Oh, Thuo, you have just, Francis Thuo, you have just sent a full stop. So, let's give some feedback. Benson Karanga, he says it will give them a deeper meaning of the greenhouse effect. Masi Mwaneki, it will help the students to transfer the outcome of the experiment to the real life situation of a greenhouse. Winnie says by observing the results of the experiment and relating them to real life. Okay. How will this experiment help the learners understand the meaning of greenhouse effect? So let's wait for at least 2 more. You have seen the class, and we want to see how will it be helpful. Two more. Anne says understanding the results will help the students to relate them to real life. We can have one more, then we proceed. One more. Joyce M. She says the idea they are learning are surface, but the conclusion may be deep. Thank you, Joyce. So you find that when you're designing an activity, you need to think of a short-term activity, for example, where you teach your subject the objective and let them think about surface, and then the deeper structure of the problem. So within the lesson, you can have the surface aspect as what Jenna said, and Lizzie is saying by doing, they make their own meaning. Thank you, Lizzie. And then for long term, you can think of one deep structure aspect whereby they can do a project over the years and they can now become experts in that particular area. So it's how you plan your lesson and you decide that for this particular part, they learn surface, maybe they are doing solar energy, they learn about sources of energy, but then you tell them for a project of maybe 3 weeks, they create a solar cell which maybe can power a classroom. So when they are doing that, they are getting deeper structure on how solar energy works. So you find that knowledge tends to be inflexible when it is first learned. So when you first get knowledge, it is inflexible. But then as you continue to work with the knowledge, you now get a different perspective of the same knowledge and how it can be applied in different forms. And the more you become an expert in a particular aspect, you find now you no longer organize around surface, but now you address your ways into deeper aspect. And this according to Chi in 1981. It's time for class. It's time for class. Welcome to our class. And today we are going to do a literacy class, and our strand will be reading. Our learning outcome will be looking at how we can establish deep structures from a story. The competency we'll be looking at is critical thinking and problem solving, and we'll be looking at deeper structure. So we are going to read a story, and when you see the name of your school up there, if you are a member of that school, you are going to read. This is a reading lesson. So Gikambura, can you read what is on the screen? Anybody from that school, you unmute yourself and you read what is on the screen.
The wicked king.
The wicked king.
Okay. Kamwirigi, sorry, I put the name. Kamwirigi, can you read that? Read from here. Somebody from Kamwirigi?
A wicked king ruled a small country from a fortress. The fortress was situated in the middle of the country, and many roads radiated outward from it, like spokes on a wheel.
Okay. Kigwe? Kigwe Primary School.
A wicked king ruled a small country from a fortress. The fortress was situated in the middle of the, can't see, it's written at the end there.
Gatundu? Gatundu?
Many roads radiated outward from the fortress like spokes on a wheel.
Matopeni? Matopeni?
A great general vowed to capture the fortress and free the country of the wicked king.
Gedu?
The general knew that if his entire army could attack the forest at once, it could be captured.
Kimutu?
Paraspai reported that Baraspai reported that he saw the king's. Baraspai reported that he saw the king's people.
Kimuchu.
Baraspai reported that he saw the king's people planting bombs on all the roads surrounding the fortress.
Kamwangi.
Screen.
To allow the king's people to use the bombs were set so that only one person can pass on the road. This allowed the king
Somebody again is trying to mess up with my one. Continue, please. Sorry about that. Somebody just changed my. Kamwangi, please do it again.
to allow the king's people to use the bombs, the bombs were set so that only one person can pass on the road. This allowed king to move workers and troops over the road safely.
Can you read it again?
To allow the king's people to use the roads, the bombs were set so that only one person can pass on the road. This allowed the king to move workers and over the road.
Okay. Lower Kihara. Lower Kihara. Lower Kihara.
However, any land by troops or horses would detonate the bombs.
Dushi. Dushi.
Not only would these blow up the road,
Togoto. Togoto.
But the king would destroy many villages in the retaliation.
Thank you very much for reading the story. We had chances of 11 of us reading a story, and I'll give you the book and you can read later. But now I want us to answer some questions from the story we have read. We read about the wicked king, and one of the questions is, I want you to list the new words you learned in the story. Can you list them in the chat, the new words which you have learned in the story? As it was being read by our classmates, we were listening. So if you had a new word, can you write it in the chat?
Fortress.
Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. So I can see detonate, I can see retaliation, I can see fortress, I can see radiated, I can see sparks. So you can see all of us, we read the same story and we have different new words which we have learned. Second question I'll ask, which value did we learn from the story?
Value.
Which value did we learn from the story? Which value did we learn from the story? So I can see words are coming: void, entire, fortress, spy. Thank you very much. Which value did we learn from this story?
values isiyalela unity ona unity ho ntopo tondikeyo tigu we work together.
I can see citizenship by Eunice. Eunice is saying citizenship. Please don't mute me. We have been reminded that the king, just to capture, the king was avoiding to be attacked, and the spies saw him putting bombs. Only one person could cross. So how could the general attack the fortress? How could the general attack the fortress? Can you help the general to attack the fortress? Let's help the general to attack the fortress. You know, if he goes with his troops, then everything will explode. So Eunice says by moving as a troop, remember he has set a bomb. So if you come as a troop, according to Eunice, by moving as a troop, you'll all be blown up. By air bombing, that is good, but we have no air those days in the fortress times. By detonating the bomb from the distance, yes, if you're able to detonate, then you might destroy the path, or maybe you are not able to detonate. Using an aeroplane, thank you, Lucy. But in old time, Lucy, there were no aeroplanes. By moving the troop by diverse routes, okay, Esther is saying we move the troops via diverse routes to the Queso. Thank you, Esther, but we don't know where the bombs have been placed. Thank you, Esther, for that. Let's have one more. Use a different route. Use a drone. Lizzie, drone just came the other day. This is 1840, where there are no drones. Okay, use only one soldier to detonate. Okay, thank you, Peter. That is an innovation. Use one soldier. So I'll now give you a possible solution. And this is a possible solution. Let's look at what the possible solution could be. This is the castle in the middle. And the castle in the middle, you can only pass one person at a go. So what the general could do, you take one troop member, the bomb do not detonate. Then you take another troop member, the bomb cannot detonate when you're passing one person. You take another one person, you take another one person, you take another one person. Slowly, slowly, you build up your troops until they are all there. And when they are there, they can now attack that particular fortress. So this is a solution which is possible. And I'll now give you an extension activity as the lesson is coming to the end. I'd like you, when you go after this lesson, you try to answer this of crossing a river. Kamau has one lion, one sheep, and a bundle of grass. He wants to cross a river, but there is only one boat, and it can't sustain the weight of more than two things at a time. For example, it can only carry either Kamau and a grass, lion and a goat, any two things at a time. So the question also, he must make sure that the lion does not eat the sheep and the sheep does not eat the grass. So the question is, how will he get to the other side of the river with all the three intact? How will he get across the river with all the three intact? So this is your extension activity, which you'll solve, and during the next lesson, you'll come and present to us on what you can do. So that is an extension activity. And I like you when you go home, I'm sure every evening, your mom or the people at home, they read to you a story. So when they are reading to you story, try to help them on how to identify the deep structure. So when they tell you a story, try to share how to bring out the deep structure in that particular story. So we are coming to the end of our lesson, and before the bell rings, I will ask you, what did you like about the reading activity? Can we type it in the chat? What did you like about the reading activity? Type it in the chat. The lesson is about to end. I can see there is a teacher who wants to come in. What did you like about the reading activity? Let's share in the chat. What did you like about the reading activity? Most of the learners participated in reading. Florence Tuo says, I read. Thank you. Several learners were given an opportunity to read individually. Okay. Remember, we are in class. We are still in class. So it is about us. Don't talk about the learners. We are the learners. It's about us. We are taking turn. For example, Mercy N, you are taking turn. Alice is saying it was shared. We are still doing our class. When the bell rings, you will go back to your teacher's position. Now you will give the teacher the feedback. We read audibly. We read the story. Thank you, Winnie. Now Winnie is getting it. This is a reflection by my student in class. That is what is going on. We were collaborating, Kamunde. We were collaborating. We are coming to our own as teachers. Many learners are reading. Several readers are involved. Okay. Thank you very much. I can hear the bell has rung and the lesson is over. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, teacher. Now our lesson has finished and we were students in the lesson. Now we are teachers. Can you give this teacher feedback? The lesson was a reading lesson, and the idea was to allow the learners to unravel the deep structures in the story. So now it's your turn. Can you give this teacher feedback? You participated in the model class and the lesson has finished. You have been given an extension activity. Now we are back to our roles as teachers. Okay, so Mercy M says several students took part. The reading was done by several, therefore encouraging all the readers and making it interesting. Thank you, Joyce. Let's have constructive feedback. The teacher had prepared. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. More feedback about the lesson. The teacher had prepared more feedback about the lesson. The teacher gave several learners a chance to read. The reading was well done and the learners read in turns. The questioning was deep and well done. Thank you, Eunice. Let's give the teacher feedback. The lesson learner-centered. We were encouraged to get the deep structure in all the stories. Thank you. Also, I want something like, how can this lesson be made better? Good lesson, the teacher can organize the story to be read twice so that, thank you very much, Mercy. Good lesson, the teacher can organize the story to be read twice so that all learners internalize the story. Thank you very much. So twice, do you mean somebody repeats the same page twice, or we do one round, then we start again? Mercy, can you respond to that? Thank you very much for that.
One round, then you repeat the story again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you very much. Winnie said the teacher could have reinforced the learners after reading. Winnie, tell us more about reinforcement. Unmute yourself, tell us more about reinforcement. Mwalimu wa lugha wewe. Tueleze kwa upana. Winnie?
Yes, for those who are reading, I think it would have been good to tell them, because we also maybe looking at how they are reading. The ones who read well, there are those who maybe made mistakes in reading the words that were written, and the teacher did not respond to that. There were those who are reading like there are no other, there are no punctuation marks, and I thought the teacher should appreciate those who do that, and those who don't, they are corrected.
Point noted. Yeah, there was the intonation, the pausing. Some were just reading flat. That was noted. Thank you very much. Great. Another question. Sorry, another feedback to this teacher. This teacher wants to get better. And the more you tell the teacher, the more. And Winnie, if I can ask something, if you do that in the middle of the reading, will it interfere with the flow?
Not in the middle.
Winnie?
Not in the middle. After the reading, before the teacher gives any other feedback, he can talk about that and even show them how to read the sentences and they recognize the full stops and the other marks that are in the sentences, but not when they are reading.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that is very clear now, because I thought if you say reading and I'm the next one to read and I don't know the word for dress and the teacher has corrected the other student, I might fear to read. Thank you very much for that. The teacher who would have used I, we, you method of reading for better understanding. Lucy M, explain what is I, we, you, so that we can finish the lesson. Lucy M, you have talked about I, we, you.
This is the method where the teacher first read the story, and then they read the story again with the pupils, and the pupils to read the story on their own.
Yeah. Do you know we learned about multiple perspectives when we started?
Yeah.
Do you know that? We learned that, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. So what you have said is one of the ways which we can use to reading. Thank you very much for giving us another perspective of reading. Thank you very much.
From the WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Hannah says,
Esther, continue.
Hannah says the teacher should have explained the meaning of the new words which the learners had indicated.
Within this lesson or in the next lesson?
Within the lesson.
Because this lesson took 30 minutes, meaning then I have to cut something else. Just advice, can the third person advise more on that? I agree about the point. Now I want to know about the functionality of how it can be done. Read the next one, Esther. Lizzie is saying here, the teacher can also read the story after the learners for learners to listen. I agree with you. This was a reading lesson. Remember, we can't mix two. If I have a reading lesson, I focus on reading. I'll have a listening lesson where I'll read another story and they'll listen. If we mix the skills, then we mess up because we only have 30 minutes. We focus on one aspect and go deeper. If you do mashy, then we get to confuse the learner as we are building their skill. It's very foundational. Then somebody saying pronunciation. That yeah, that will come in reading. Especially that's what Winnie was saying, that when they feel, then I can come, and punctuations and pronunciations can be also be addressed in another story. For this lesson, I was focusing on deep structure, and I will do so for other lessons. So thank you very much for this feedback. Can we now focus on the session? Our session today was about deep structure. I want you to use a 3-point, because now we are shifting, want to shift to action planning. We start preparing our action plan. During this session from 8:38 up to now, there is something you found intriguing, something which wowed you, or something which made you uncomfortable. Identify that thing. During the whole session, from the way I started, I went through, I modeled a lesson, and now you gave me feedback. There is one thing, there are many things which startled you, but there is one thing which was very, very unique to you individually. Can you write down what was that? It could be a thing, an experience, an observation, something which really touched you. Can you write it down? What was it? From the time we started at 8:38 up to now, there's one thing which really touched you, startled you, wowed you. You are amazed by it. You got uncomfortable with it. What was it? Write it in the chat. Let's write it in the chat. Write it in the chat. So I can see the activity required me to pause and summon my thinking. Thank you, Lizzie. The organization of the work was amazing. Thank you, Rehab. Winnie is saying how deep structure can easily be brought out in a lesson. Thank you, Winnie. Florence says deep structure can be familiar. Thank you, Florence. Mercy Kinyo says thinking deeply about a situation to get deeper meaning or deeper way of solving an issue. Okay, so now you have identified that thing which struck you in the session. My next question will be, so what? So what? You are wowed, you are struck, you are mesmerized, you got uncomfortable. So what? So can you write so what? I can still see what from Justina. I got knowledge about deep structure. John K, master of content. Great. Now tell us, so what? Joyce M is say surface structure and deep structure. So what? Tell us, so what? Michael is saying the difference between surface and deeper structure. I want to hear so what? So Winnie is saying, so in my teaching, I will apply the same to include critical thinking in my learners. Thank you, Winnie. Eunice is saying deep structure require critical thinking before a solution is brought. John K say, I plan to apply your methods to enhance deeper learning. Thank you. Margaret say, deeper structure will help my learners to think critically in solving problem. Okay, that is great. Then finally, I'll ask you, I'll purposefully effort to prepare an activity. Liz, so how do I structure my lesson to help my learners? Mercy saying will encourage my learners to think deeply by giving them thought-provoking question. Excellent. So now I ask you, now what? Now what? So what is it that you're going to do now? You have said what, so now what? So you can see the type of, the way I'm probing you, is I'm trying to go deeper into what you're saying. Because I want also you, as you are saying what you observe, these are reflective, it's a reflective approach, whereby when you go through something, you ask yourself critically, what happened? And as when you're asking yourself what happened, you ask yourself, what did it mean to me? Whatever happened, what did it mean to me as an individual? And when you express that, you go further and say, what did I learn from it? So this is a reflection approach which facilitates deep structure in the way you react to something and in the way you can think of it. So thank you very much for taking this, and I'll now like you to identify the things that Liz is saying. Now I have to rethink the way I present my lesson. Thank you, Winnie. Winnie is saying now I have changed mindset on the type of question to use forthwith. Thank you, Winnie. Mercy Kinyo is saying we'll start thinking deeply about situations I encounter in life. Margaret is saying I will engage my learners to think deeply in activity presented to them. Joyce is saying this has made my teaching better, especially when we are doing an experiment. And Mercy is saying get to application now. Excellent. So now I'd like you to identify the things which you are taking away, which some of you have identified in the reflection. So put those in your portfolio, because as we are moving to the next activity of action planning, that is what we'll be undertaking. So thank you very much. And now we want to shift gears and we ask ourselves, we have been learning all this all week. It's like we have been going to a supermarket and we had seen so many things in the shelves and everywhere. So now we are deciding, whatever we are picking out of this, what is it that we are taking away and what shall we be doing with it? And when should we be applying it? So I'm going to take you through a short session, a 30-minute session, which we'll be addressing, but you still have 2 minutes to write down. Just write down as I'm pulling up stuff so that I give you a 30 minutes. How will you plan? Then we'll break for an hour where we'll now go and put your things in order as well as your speech. Everybody will be given a 6-minute speech to tell us what is it that you are taking away, what is it that you'll do with it, and what is it that you expect for it to come out. So that will come as we continue. So now finish unpacking, writing down the things that you have taken from this session while my session is loading up. Then we are going to go through the now what. We have been doing the what. We have been doing the so what. Now we'll be getting to an area whereby we are looking at the now what, and then we'll have a break where we'll now be given an opportunity to go and finance our work, put our plans into perspective. And in the classroom, we have the template, we have the tool, and then I'd like you to familiarize. When you're making your speech, look at the link I shared about the observation. When you'll be observing your colleague, there'll be a template they'll be using to score you. So familiarize yourself so that you know that this is what I'm expected in my speech, and it will help you as you are planning your speech. So thank you very much for that very nice session. And now we are coming to action planning. It's 10 sharp, so in 30 minutes we'll be finishing the action planning session. So when you talk about action planning, if you look down there at my slide, it is telling you that I want to see what you are seeing so that I am not speaking out of step. It is telling us something that you have to put your plans into action. And it is important because in this session, we are going to see how we can plan. How do we, why should you prioritize your stuff? Why should you prioritize your actions? That is something why we're going to look. Why is it important? Because sometimes you have 50 things to do. How do you decide which one to start with? I'm sure from this whole week, you're coming up with a repository of so many ideas, but now you need to agree with yourself, your resources, your timelines on what will you start with. And before you agree, you need to know your class, you need to know your schools, you need to know the deficiencies, you need to know the gaps so that you will be fitting as you're working on this. And then we'll bring you a way in which you can plan and be able to have your plan in the school where you can implement with no problem. So remember the general outcome. These are general outcome of early years education. And this is what we want to reinforce. This is what we go to school to do. And therefore, whatever innovation, whatever research, whatever new idea we are doing to make this better so that these outcomes are much deeper in the learner. And we also talked about the foundational skills. And these foundational skills are both in literacy and numeracy. They are core, because if I can't read, I can't answer a maths question. If I can't read, I can't answer a social study question. So I need to be able to decode, to decipher, to understand what I'm reading. So these learning outcomes for literacy are very, very critical. So whatever we are doing must be revolving around them. The ones for literacy and the ones for numeracy, because we want the foundational skills to be very strong and solid so that our learners can be able to build their learning experience as they transfer this knowledge into other learning areas and they build their knowledge. So it is very, very critical that whatever activity, whatever plan that we are making is focused on this area. And this is critical because when we are talking about this area, we're talking about both foundational skills and core competencies. And in foundational skills, we are talking about the approaches to teaching literacy and numeracy. And we're also talking about active learning approaches. That's something which we are addressing. And we're also talking about learner-centered teaching. So whatever we are planning should revolve around that. And we're also talking about innovative pedagogies, such like using technology, field visit, virtual field visit, calling a specialist to come to class, connecting somebody to talk, taking the children to the farm. Those are the things we are talking about. And when we come to the core skills, which are now additional to supplement, we are addressing the critical thinking and problem solving. And here we are talking about eliciting evidence, which we have covered. We are talking about multiple perspectives. We are talking about deep structures, and we're also talking about solving non-routine issues. So as we are planning, we make sure that our plan revolves around foundational skills and core competencies. Those are the critical elements which we need to do. Then based on that, remember our professional learning pathway where we have to set goals. So you plan, you have a goal. So you have to establish your goals and expectation that I'm doing A because I want B to happen so that C can happen. So that clarity of idea needs to be there. And then we have to apply, how will I do it? So you need to think about how will I do, because as I'm doing the how, I need to be checking, is it happening? Is it coming out? Is it bringing out what it's supposed to bring? And finally, am I doing it just to check a box or because I was told to do? Or am I doing because I want to develop professionally? Because this is a professional learning opportunity for me. So that is also something which we need to appreciate as we are going through action planning. So it's very critical to understand that people don't plan to fail. Nobody ever plans to fail because failing is not that interesting. But what happens is people fail to plan. And a failure to plan has its consequences. And therefore, you find that when we are planning, setting a goal is relatively easy. Like people say, I will, that's okay. But the critical aspect is creating a plan that will help you to achieve that goal. And that can be challenging. That might not be easy because you can have all these things in the air, but how now do you bring them on the ground and you actualize what you are intending to do? So the intention, the heart might be there, the head might be there, but the hands could be missing. Remember, you have to have the head, the heart, the hands. So the triple H must be addressed as you are looking at these particular aspects. Therefore, we have to choose a focus of action. And when we are selecting what to do, I'll give you a 3, 4, 5 approach, which you might find useful. But if you have another alternative way to do it, you can also share with us in future so that we can learn from you. So here we'll be talking about the 3, 4, 5 approach of focusing on our action plan. And in the 3, 4, 5 approach, 3, we are focusing on brainstorming. You have these many activity. So you will brainstorm and put them down and say, I'll do this. And you have all the, because when you're brainstorming, there are no breaks. You're just supposed to put all the ideas down. That is the first step, so that you have your repository of all the notes you've been taking through the course and you have them down as what you're, because remember, after each session, we were telling you, can you identify the replicable? Can you identify the adoptable? So I'm sure you are writing them down. That's now you have all of them down. The next thing is now to evaluate. You look at them and you look at your school situation and you look at your capability yourself. That is filtering, because as you are evaluating, there is that which you got it clearly, there is that which the net broke while it was coming out. So it will be risky to take the one which you are not clear about. It's more advisable to take the one which you enjoyed, the one which you got proper information about it, the one which you practiced in the session to start with. Eventually, you will come and do everything. But now we have a time crunch. So you can't do everything within the September to December or September to March. So that small window will allow you to evaluate and find, what do I need to do? And then once you have evaluated, you'll be informed on the best way to prioritize. You'll know, I have 10 things to do, but out of these 10 things to do, this will be the first one, this will be the second one, and this will be the third one. That is very critical because it will allow you to be focused in the way you are addressing your tasks, so that you are strategizing to be successful from the beginning. So when you're doing that, you find that when you're doing the brainstorming, we are looking at the ideas, strategies, approaches, all these which were being shared in the class. And we are identifying them. Oh, that one was assessing evidence. Oh, that was an experiment for deep structure. Oh, that story was. oh, that class was, oh, that numbers was. So you are able to identify the things that you want to pick, just the way you go to a supermarket. You go to where you have different soap, but you have a particular soap you use. So you identify that. So even in this case, we're identifying what we are taking away. And after identifying that, then now we go to evaluation. And the evaluation is based on several things. Do I have control in what I'm selecting? Do I have influence to what I'm selecting? Do I have resources? Because you cannot decide that I'm now going to take my children to a field trip and you're not the one who decides about it. When we are starting innovation, you begin from the low-hanging fruits. That is, things which you are under influence, things which you have influence, things which you have control, things which you have resources. So you need to be smart so that there will be no challenge, because you are beginning from a level of comfort. You are beginning with what you have. So that will be critical as you're evaluating. So the thumb rule here is be smart. Don't try to bite what you can chew. Select what you think is within your remit, is in your influence, and you can be able to undertake it. And then once you have done that, you now begin to prioritize based on your situation. You look at which one will cost little, which requires very little effort to do, which requires, so you know your situation, you know your class, you know your students, you know your learning area. So this will help you in, we cannot prescribe your prioritization. You are the best person to identify, I will start with this, I will follow with this, because this will be addressing this particular gap and this will be doing that. So that is something which you need to understand when you are selecting the activity to do. And once you have this clear, is you to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why? And this is based on the current school situation. For example, my learners are having an issue with comprehension. So I want them to read for understanding. So you need to dig your history, dig your appraisal, dig your background, and then see what is it that I want to fix for now. I have 2-3 months to fix, September, October, November, January, February, March. I have only 6 months to fix. What is it that I can fix within that time? And then come up with a goal. Because without a compass, north, west, east, west, they all work. So you need to have a goal that for this particular action plan, for this first phase of implementation, my goal is to you set a goal. And that goal will be your compass, which will be directing you in where you are going as you are unfolding your implementation. Once you have a goal, now you come and say what will be done. And you know, now we have an opportunity to apply in multiple perspective, assessing evidence, solving and routine problem, deep structure. So you can choose from all this. Good advice is try to choose one attribute from each, so that as you are doing the 6 months, you have this whole wide expository of the application. So if you select one aspect from each of these, you will have a broader perspective of all, but don't take a lot. Take something from each, something simple, and then try that. So that will give you a soft landing as you're beginning to implement. Once you have said what could be done, ask yourself, am I the only one who's doing it? Or do I work with somebody else? And who will this somebody be? Don't say Kamau, because if Kamau is transferred, then your project will go down. Say the grade 3 literacy teacher, say the panel head, say the head teacher, say the community elder, give them titles and don't just parachute their names in. Say the head teacher will help me in assessing resources which I will use in the project. So give them tasks, very clear description of what they're supposed to do as they're working with you in that particular aspect. When you're explaining how it will be done, be very clear on what you will do. For example, I will select stories in my literacy grade 3 lessons which have aspects of deep structure, so that when I'm teaching listening, when I'm teaching reading, I'll be focusing on my learners to identify the deep structures as well as build their reading and listening skills. With this, I'll be using with my year level teachers. So if I'm teaching grade 3, I'll be working with the grade 3 in the other class and the grade 3 in the other class. And I'll also be working with the panel head of language. So that way you are clear that even if you give me your action plan and I come to your school, I can do exactly what you plan to do because there is clarity in the instruction and all the details are there and very clear. So it's very important for you to say how it will be done. And then the other thing is, when will you do it? Because remember, there are so many things you're planning to do. So maybe my literacy, learning, deep structure, I'll do it from October, week 2, this. So be very specific in the timeline so that there's clarity on what you're doing. Don't say October, that's too general. Now, just prescribe from, imagine we are working from September to March. If things change, you'll just be adjusting the date, but you are clear. But week 2, term 3, from 15 to this, I'll be doing this. So be very clear in your plans so that it helps when you are monitoring. It helps when you are looking for support. If I am to visit your school, I can check your plan and I'll say, when I'm coming to Kamwigi School or I'm going to Matopeni Primary School, in this week, this is what I'll find. So there's clarity on everybody who is working with you, and I can assure you will visit your schools. At least everybody will be visited once. So you're not doing it for us, you're doing for yourself, but you're also sounding out to others who are working with you to know what you'll be doing as you'll be doing it. So as we are moving on, the next thing is, if you succeed in whatever you are doing, you need to imagine, how will my success look like? If I wanted my learners to be assessing evidence, will my learner be able to be assessing evidence in the activities I give? How will I know they are doing that? Maybe I'll be checking the way they are responding. Maybe I'll be checking for every claim they make, they are giving evidence. So you need to lay down the success, how it will look like. Because when you put everything in how the success will look like, it helps for us to understand that when we come to check, or when you check, or when your supervisor checks, you'll be able to see, am I 40%? Am I 50%? Am I 70%? Or am I 100%? So it's a good reflective aspect, which tells you, where am I? Because even when we are traveling, for example, I'm traveling to Nairobi, I'll be checking, where am I? Have I reached Mtitwande? Have I reached Voi? So the same, because here you have an intended goal and there is a place you want to reach. So you have to check, by here to look like this, by here to look like this, by here to look like this, so that you are able to have those particular steps where you can check where you are and you identify what is the level of success. So it is very, very critical. We unpack success before it happens. Then the next one, somebody again is taking my screen. Please stop taking my screen. Somebody has taken my screen and that's not fair. So, sorry for that. I'm just opening a different way because somebody has taken my screen. And show from parent. Okay. So I'm going to share this. So once you have done all that, this is how your action plan will look like. So your action plan will have the school, the goal. Then for each activity, there will be an objective. There will be the what, how, why, when, with whom, with what, and the impact. For example, I want to enhance reading within a lesson. I'll train the teacher. This is different. Maybe I'll work with my lessons and see how it can work. Why? You give the reason why you are doing it. When will you do it? This is not specific. You be specific. October, that. With whom? Say the people you'll work with, maybe senior teacher. With what? I will use readers, textbook, diaries, vocabulary, journals. How will it look like when it is successful? So one, my learners will be able to read with fluency. That is too broad. So I need to break the success with indicators. So I know, what does ability to read with fluency with accuracy mean? So I'll break that down and say I have a criterion, and in this criterion I'm dividing in exceeding, meeting, approaching, and below. And you can see in exceeding, the descriptor is consistently and correctly read with fluency. So I'm bringing the success parameters. When I come to the criterion is reading with fluency, meeting expectation is correctly reading with fluency, and approaching is sometimes reads with fluency, and below expectation is rarely reads with fluency. But this below expectation, you have to be careful, because we don't want our learners to be left out. So you can say rarely reads with fluency independently, but has to be supported, because we don't want to leave any learner at below expectation. It is our role as teachers to pull them up. But then we now need to identify where they are, and then we pull them up. So your success should be this clear, so that when I'm coming to my success meter, that is the score, that is performance level, I'll now bring my success this way. I'll break it down so that I know that this is ability to read, criterion is reading with fluency, I'm checking at reading with fluency, text is specific. Then I break it down into the below expectation, approaching, and that. So that I have date that in the midweek I will check, and then I write a reflection. What did I see? Where are my learners? You have to do 2 cycle or 3 cycle. You are advised to do minimum 2 cycle. So you do your observation, you sit, you review your action, you reflect, you change some of the things, then you do another cycle. Minimum 2 cycle, but some people do up to 4 cycle. If you do a 3-weekly cycle, 3 weeks, you take one aspect. When you do cyclic approach, it gives you a deep understanding of what you are doing. It informs your decision, it deepens your practice, and you emerge with new things which you are discovering as you're implementing. So this is how the monitoring plan will look. So I'll now open for questions. You can type your question and I give a feedback as we are coming to an end. We have 8 minutes. I respond to any burning question that we have on action planning. Welcome. Thank you very much for listening. You can type your burning question in the chat, any burning question you have, and then I'll respond the way I can. And we have facilitators in the room. Charles is here, Esther is here, Nashon is here. We'll all respond. Because when you break out, when you're presenting, each facilitator will be with 2 schools. 2 schools will be with the facilitators, and you'll be presenting your work. So they're all here to listen and to share. Dr. Marigat is also here. Will the criteria be on the action plan? The assessment criteria needs to be on the action plan, and you're not submitting your action plan today. You'll be given a week. So the action plan is expected on Friday next week by midnight. Yes, we need to see your success criteria so that we understand what are you doing and how do you like it to happen. Thank you, Winnie, for asking that. Please ask any burning question. We are here to learn with you. And the facilitators, please feel free to chip in so that we have that collective response to what the teachers are asking. Are you fired up to go and make your action plan? Are you excited? You'll be given 6 minutes to share your plans. Let's get your questions. Hi, Enos. Yes? Zuri. Answering for some technical thing for the next activity. What happens when the action plan conflicts with prescribed design of teaching? Thank you very much. National has answered you. We are not going against the tracks. We are reinforcing what you are already doing. So if your action plan is conflicting, that's a red flag. It should not be conflicting with the design of teaching. So look at the design of teaching, Mercy, and then identifying how can I reinforce. Start with what you're already doing. Don't do radical pedagogy. Radical pedagogy is there, but it's not for this type of environment, because what you are prescribing here is radical pedagogy. For now, start with what you do and see how can you tweak it to make it better, and now move up. Thank you, Nashon, for answering that. Kindly send us the format for action plan. John Kanyoro, are you in the Google class? It is there. In the Google class, we have the plan. We will send a document where everybody has opened and it has everything laid out. And then we have a submission form, which we will be submitting on Friday next week. So it is there. So we are looking for more questions. More question, we help you. More questions? Our break is approaching. I think it has approached. It's time now. It's 10:30. So, yeah, Mercy Kinyo is saying my data is depleted. I think Vida is in the class. She is the one to address data. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this exciting session. You'll see on WhatsApp, they will post the schools we are going to work with. So I know I'm working with Lower Kihara and Dushi. So Lower Kihara and Dushi will be meeting after 1 hour. And all of you, you'll get different links. When you get a link to your class, go to that class. There'll be 2 schools in the new classes. And for 1 hour, we'll be presenting, and then we'll meet back here. So thank you very much for the session. I look forward to meeting you again when we come for the closure. But for now, I'll say ciao. Asanteni sana.